Hi, I'm Gaelle Kolb. I'm the Assistant Director of the Professional Development Office at the Johns Hopkins Medical Institution. My talk today is about helping you identify your skills and expertise that you could use to tailor your resume and cover letters when you apply for a specific job. So hi, I'm Gaelle Kolb, and as you heard, I will be talking to you today on how to develop a tailored resume and how to scan the keywords out of a job announcement. So this is a logical continuum from what you heard in the morning that Amanda was actually covering very nicely. And now my main point is more how do you identify your skills and how do you identify the most important keywords, and that was one of the questions raised, what are the keywords? So we'll look a little bit further into this. So developing a tailored resume is a skill by itself. How do you identify your skills? First of all, you need to know which skills are of importance for the specific job you're applying to. So there are job-specific skills. Those are usually the easiest to scan through. Those are the ones that catches your eyes when you look at the job announcement. You know the scientific skills you're having, and this is how you search for your own next position. So now also when you go for industry rather than academia, think accomplishment. And Amanda really made a case in the morning. It's not about your duties, it's really more about what you have accomplished, what you have achieved so far, what are your successes. Then there are other skills. Transferable skills are the most difficult to actually advocate for and that you might have a harder time in getting to spell out. So those are skills that you directly take from a job or a volunteer or service that you're offered and that you can do and apply to the current position. So it can be teaching, for instance, managing a team, collaborating with people, organizing a meeting, hosting a meeting, inviting speakers. Those are transferable skills that you might actually need to use when you go for a specific position. Interpersonal skills, those are also very important. How do you effectively work with others? Again, use your collaboration. Have you collaborated efficiently? Can you prove it by looking at your publication record? And again, quantify. Tell them exactly what are the results or the end product that was actually achieved through those specific skills. You need to build a story around your skills. That also helps you for your interview. Once you will be questioned about, well, can you give me a specific example on how you would manage a team? Then in your head, you will just have the best case scenario. How comfortable did you feel in managing a team? How comfortable did you feel in giving different tasks to people with very different levels, a technician, a student, your peers? How do you delegate your work? Again, you do not need to list everything you have done. This is a resume, we're not talking about a CV, so you need to pick and choose what is the most relevant to the position you're applying to. Come from the four most important to the most important. Avoid anything else. Whatever isn't pertinent to the specific job, you just leave it out. Of course, there are a lot of words that you have read, or when you look at resumes online, you have those perfect examples. But there are very empty words. For instance, highly qualified in what? In what do you think you're innovative? Compared to who? Compared to what? Result-driven. We are all result-driven, so give them a specific example on what you have achieved. Good communication skills, that's the same. It's very empty. It doesn't tell us what you have really done to hone your communication skills. So instead of using those empty words, you might want to go into quantifying or referring to the specific action or accomplishment that you have. For instance, if you created something, if you developed something, a software or an assay or a specific method, how it was implemented in your lab, how many years of track record of doing research do you have, How many years of track record doing mentoring do you have? Whatever is important for the specific position. Did you engineer a device? Did you engineer something that is of importance to the company? Did you deliver courses? Did you negotiate quotes with companies? Did you collaborate? How successful was the collaboration? So the more specific and the more quantity you can put in your resume, the better chances you will have to get hired and pass the HR level as well. Amanda kind of told you in the morning about the different sections that you will find in a resume. I would like to really point at the one I really like you to develop is the summary of qualification. Usually the summary of qualification comes just after your personal information and before the education. This is a snapshot of who you are and why you think you fit perfectly to that current position. It's the first section that will be read by the recruiter. They have done some eye scanning studies on recruiters and they looked at where their eyes are actually going when they get a one-page resume. That's the first. Actually, the first section on the first page is the summary of qualification. Then they very quickly scan through your research experience and they flip the page to see what's in their back and go straight to the latest thing they can read in the back. So just by remembering that, really focus on what you would write up front. Your contact information, summary of qualification, how well do you fit the current position. So be very specific again and use action verbs. What did you accomplish? What was your success? What are you the most proud of? And why do you think this is really tailored to the current position? Oops, I'm going back, sorry. So now we're going to do a little bit of a more interactive session. I would like you to scan through 2 jobs announcements. So since you're all biomedical engineer, I try to have one that is more into software and informatics, and the other one that is more into molecular biology. So first, when you're looking for a job, you need to identify the best search engine that you need to use. So there are plenty out there. One common mistake is to develop a very generic resume and to upload it onto one of those search engines. Try to avoid. If you need to upload a resume, go directly to the company's website and upload it there. If you do it on a search engine, the risk is that this engine, monster.com or whatever you're using, will actually scan your resume for the keywords. And each time there is a job announcement that opens and matches your keywords, that spam your resume towards the company, even though you didn't decide about that. So it will actually ruin your resume and your name. So when you look at the job announcement, the first thing you're looking at are the scientific skills. What are they looking for? What do I have as a scientist that I can apply directly to the company? And those are field or research areas, that can be disease, that can be specific techniques or methods. There is another skill that you need to now learn how to extract. Those are the business-like skills, especially if you want to go for industry or for any biotech or pharmaceutical company. Those are skills that will advance knowledge, that will advance, achieve something, advance a technique, advance a method. And they are more targeted. So is it in development? Is it translational from the bench towards clinic? Or is it pharmaceutical? Are you developing a certain drug? Are you researching on a certain pathway? Those are different. So here is one example from Genentech. I think that both positions were open a week ago. So if you have an interest, apply after that. Can you read clearly? So here my exercise is, can you extract the scientific skills that are listed in that announcement? And can you then extract the business-like skills? I'll give you 2 minutes. go with the scientific skills? We need one extroverted. Yes, go ahead.
So you need to be collaborative with other scientists. You need to be able to develop software in R, it looks like, which is the language that they use for this computational analysis. You have to be able to do computational analysis and they're hiring somebody to do bioinformatics, it looks like, or bioinformatics. And then you have to know how to publish and generate software, like really have that skill.
Okay, those are the scientific skills. Anyone wants to take a guess with the business-like skills? Yeah.
You have to be collaborative and there's that multiple times, so interpersonal skills. You also have to be able to develop novel therapies, so that would be the next thing we talk about. And I believe you also need to be well organized. These are the multiple things that they would be working on.
Yeah, it's kind of what is left. So roughly 50% of the announcement is about the scientific skills, the other 50% is about the business life. Do not focus only on the scientific skills. When you develop your resume, of course, you scan by actually trying to see whether you have experience in bioinformatics and computational biology. Can you actually develop something in R language? Can you, did you publish? Did you develop softwares? That's the primary things that you would be putting in your resume. But do not omit all the others. How motivated are you? Did you lead something, a development, a design? Did you design something in your lab? Do you actually collaborate with other people? Do you actually, have you an interest in novel therapy for unmet medical needs? You should actually start thinking about how you can address all those business-like skills. And you should put them in your resume as well. So now we actually go to the second part of the announcement. So this is what Genentech is looking for. Again, those are the scientific skills that they have depicted. It's roughly, again, 50% of the announcement, and that's now it's 40 and 60%. But do not omit those. A strong comment. You have contributed to one or more of those languages that are currently in a database. You should have scientific competences. You should have demonstrated something. You should have communication skills, quantitative skills, and ability to work with others. So think about specific examples during your graduate studies or if you're an early stage postdocs on how you can also address those requirements. They are not explicitly said as being a requirement, but I'm telling you, you should address them. They are 50% of the announcement. Let's go to a second example. Maybe that one is a bit more difficult for you to read. Can you read it? Not? Okay. So it's twist gnostic. This is a local biotech, and more interestingly, it's actually a biotech that has been established by former Hopkins alumni. Great. And they have two postings on their website. So the science is about engineering or scientists. It's a genetic platform. They're looking at clinical diagnostic, and they're developing assays. So they have a specific requirement in looking about people who can, who have some knowledge about recombinant DNA molecule, who can use molecular biology methods. They have designed protocols, or they have a knowledge in biosensors. You know how to immobilize antibodies on a certain shape. You have a PhD degree in biomedical engineering, biochemistry, biophysics, you name it. And then it's bioassay, biosensors, single molecule, surface chemistry. That's the scientific skills they're asking for. But let's have a closer look at all the business-like skills, and you'll be impressed to see that, again, it's 50% of the announcement. So what are they looking for? They're looking for motivated and skilled people who have an interest in research and development, in a team setting. They are also rapidly growing startup company. They are developing the first true point of care. This is important. You need to understand every single word and what they mean, how it will actually translate when you do the research. They are looking at highly driven and inventive individuals who will revolutionize. Do you have an example when you revolutionize science or a method or something that you have developed in your lab? You should play a key role in the development. Then are the action verbs: design and synthesize, develop, test, solve complex development challenges, develop quality control, demonstrate proficiency, the ability to interact with colleagues in a team environment. Again, we have all that team building or team leading that is of importance. Entrepreneurial can-do attitude. Think about very specific example on what you would use as your own expertise where you can address those requirements. Do you have any question about that? Did you ever think about addressing everything that was written in the job announcement, or did you always focus on the science? How did you apply to specific jobs so far? It's no eye-opener to you.
Definitely not.
What is it?
I've definitely not made a point of addressing every single thing in there. Sometimes there'll be more science than some business, but definitely not 50-50. Definitely not everything.
It's usually 50-50. So that means you are putting too much emphasis on the science, yeah. So, yes?
So, knowledge is and knowledge what skills you need to do. By some period of time, I'm not qualified to do all the skills, and I cannot do some of part of them. So, am I supposed to apply for the job and saying like I'm happy to learn?
So are you asking on how many skills should you have when you apply for a job, or?
No, I mean, in a job announcement, we always have a long list. But I'm sure I don't have some of them on the list. So am I supposed to apply for the job?
I think the rule is more like an 80% fit to the job announcement. If you think you can do 80% of what they are requiring you to do, you should apply. If you think you cannot, you might want to rethink or maybe refine your search. Other questions?
That's a really important point. Don't be discouraged if you don't see yourself 100% in what they say they're looking for. Because that's aspirational. They don't expect to see somebody who's 100% of what they're looking for. That candidate may not exist. So don't be discouraged if you don't see yourself as a perfect match. If you have a lot of what they're looking for, and you really bring some spice, some interpersonal mojo, you're going to look good.
But again, to go back to one of the questions that was asked in the morning, so how do you convince somebody? Well, I didn't get screened out because I didn't use the keywords. But here they are, all the keywords. If you have to pass the HR, use their keywords. Like structural biology is very broad. If they are really focusing on somebody who is a crystallographer, you should put crystallography in your resume. Don't keep it too broad. See, so that's also how you interpret your skills about the 80%. If you think, well, I do have the science, kind of, but I might not have all the entrepreneurial or can-do attitude, but you can interpret it the way you want. Maybe you have done something that is not necessarily in science, but maybe you have been involved in a non-profit where you can say, well, by just being involved in another setting and I was working on a project to host an event, it's a can-do attitude. You can do something else. So this is really depending on how you interpret your skills. Does it make more sense or?
Question.
Yeah, sorry.
You mentioned like most job and most things are 50% science and 50% business, but traditionally in biomedical or most science program students are not trained to be too entrepreneurial. So it's like you're great as a scientist or as an engineer, but you probably don't have an entrepreneurial or business side of it. And even reality is all jobs are like 50% science and 50% business. How do you make up the last component?
But look what the business skills are. They are like motivation, developing something, being driven and inventive, revolutionizing something, or solving complex problems. Those are the business-like skills. They don't have any science. You see what I mean? So it's not about the science. It's not about doing DNA sequencing or using I don't know, an X-ray or a crystallographer or doing, you name it. I think it's more about how you actually acquired certain skills. For instance, every single experiment that you did in the lab that did not work, you learned something from it. You learned a technique, you learned a method. It's not necessarily about what came out, it's more about what did you acquire while doing that specific experiment. Does it answer your question? Maybe refine? Do you want to rephrase it? Or?
No, that's fine.
Okay. But it's more about, the entrepreneur here is not the only word in that sentence, there is a can-do attitude. If you cannot address the entrepreneurial side, well, you have a can-do attitude. Just think about what you did. You were asked to do by somebody because they knew you were so skilled in doing that. If you collaborated with another lab for a specific skill set that you had, that's a can-do attitude. If you developed a new method in your lab, that's a can-do attitude. Is it better?
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, like, if you're waiting for your first job, a lot of the jobs that are posted have like a requirement of like having like industry experience for X amount of years.
None of them do require here.
Okay.
That's why I picked them.
Okay, but I'm saying like for those, should we just pass those, or
No.
then like what would you say is like the limit of the number of years that they're asking you for that you might be able to apply?
It's more about the skills you can bring. If they are asking for 10 years of industry experience, of course you pass it. This is just common sense.
Yeah.
But if they are asking for a year or 2 years of experience in industry, and that you know that you have the specific skills that they're looking for, you should definitely give it a try.
So maybe like a couple or a few years would be okay.
Yes, and you actually make your case in the cover letter that we will be covering now.
Okay.
So you really interpret how you think you're the best candidate for that job.
And also like, in terms of like getting past HR, you know how you're saying to use these keywords? Do you want us to use them like verbatim or like something similar to them?
What is it?
Like you're talking about getting past HR by
Yeah.
using the same keywords. Does that mean like actually the same keywords? Be like I designed this because it says design or
Yeah, like DNA, like here it's a synthesis of DNA molecule, recombinant DNA, those are the keywords. Biochemistry, biophysics, if you had a biosensor, did you use a specific like instrument, a biocore here would be a good example. If you ever worked on a biocore, I think that really fits well here. Another question? Yeah.
So
you need to use them in your context. For instance, the keywords are short, they are not entire sentences, so use keywords in your context, in whatever project you have been using that specific molecule or method or technique or instrument. But don't change the keyword. Like we said with the X-ray crystallography, to an HR person, structural biology doesn't equal X-ray crystallography. Because they don't have the scientific background to make that assumption. We move on? So job search correspondence. When you send in your resume, usually you should send in letters as well. So that depends on whether there is an opening and you're actually applying for a specific position or not. So there are different types of letters. The most common one is the cover letter. That means there is a job opening. Then there are inquiry letters or networking letters. And hopefully you will be able to send a thank you letter when you ever had an interview or even an informational interview. So cover letters, again, it always goes along with a resume or a CV. It identifies the specific requirement for the position for which you're applying to. Usually it's organized and I will help you draft it. And it should invite the reader actually to learn more about you by going to the resume and proofread. So you read your letter, get somebody else to read through it, make sure it's accurate, make sure there is no typo or grammatical errors. Inquiry letters, those are usually used when there is no advertised position. So you're expressing an interest in an organization. For instance, if there is a startup that just actually opened their doors, you can send in an inquiry letter by saying, hey, I'm an expert in this. I just saw that you are currently working on that specific field. In that specific field, may I actually interview with you or tell you how much I could help you get your startup to move? Networking letters, that goes back to what Julie was addressing in the morning. If you want to have an informational interview, you might actually accompany your CV or your resume with a networking letter explaining the person why you're contacting them. What are you expecting from them? And if you know of a common person, so if you have been referred to that specific person by somebody else, you should tell them. And of course, thank you letter. You should always thank anyone who took the time to meet with you. It can actually help you go through an HR level, or it can help you get the person, the interviewer, to remember you by saying, oh, that was the person who was actually skilled in that specific instrument. At the time, I didn't think he or she was a good candidate, but yeah, now that they're actually explain to me again why they're thinking that way or how their method can be applied in our specific situation, get them back in and interview them again. So cover letters. The cover letters always need to be personalized, so they need to be addressed to a specific person, to a human being. And how do you do that? You should know now. You heard about it in the morning. Use LinkedIn. So when you go onto LinkedIn and you follow a company, you can see the people who are working for that company. And you can identify the HR person, who is the recruiter, who is the person who will read your letter. So address it to that person and get their mailing address as well onto the letter. Avoid any dear sir, dear madam, or whatever. Those are totally outdated. You should always find a human being. So the first paragraph is really about why you are writing. Tell them who you are and tell them what number you are applying to. So never only spell out the technical position or the name of the position. Every job that has been published has an ID. Put that ID number down again. And then there are 2 or 3 paragraphs that would follow here, and it really depends on how well inspired you will be, but the second and the third paragraph can be combined. And I'll show you how to do both separately. So the second paragraph is more about what you will offer for the specific position you're applying to. Here it's actually your time to shine. You tell them, you convince them that indeed you are the best fit. So if you feel like you had to stretch a little to be actually the perfect match, interpret what you were thinking about. When you looked at the job announcement, what was going on in the back of your head, where you were convincing yourself that indeed that was the good position for you. So you need now to tell them exactly why you can use the specific skills and apply it to their own position. Don't let the reader interpret for you. You need to spell out everything. If you let them do the exercise, they'll misinterpret anyway. So make sure whatever point you want to get across, that it's written on the paper. The third paragraph is one step beyond. So the second is more about how well do you fit the position. The third is more how do you envision yourself within the company or within the organization. So here you have to do your homework. You need to go onto the website and you need to know what the company is about. How many departments do they have? How do the departments work together? How many products do they have on the market? Who are their competitors? How you can help them? How much you can help beyond your position? Again, be very explicit. You will be an added value to the company, not only because you will be doing the duties they have announced in the position, but you will also reach out to other people within the company. And finally, we will look at Twist Not Stick, who is a Hopkins company, who is actually a company that has been launched by Hopkins alumni. And I would like to invite you to go through their website. So they have a homepage, they have About Us, the technology, the news, the careers, and you should go to every single tab. So know who they are. They are biotechnology, they develop medical device for diagnostic purposes. They also tell you exactly how many grant money they receive, from which institute, who their collaborators are currently at Hopkins. So what's your next step here? Yeah, especially if they are here on campus. So contact those people and know more about the company. In a very genuine way, you want to have that information and interview with the collaborators. And then they might actually refer you to a person who is working for the company. But it's very important that every single position that you have an interest in, that you really take that step beyond and go to the company's webpage. Look at every single page that is out there. And also the technology that they're having on the markets, the news. The news are important for that company, especially since they received 2 NIH grants within the past year. This is very important. So if you ever received a fellowship or something, of course you put it in your resume. You are just as successful for getting your own money. And finally, after having envisioned yourself within the company, you close your cover letter by thanking them for their interest. You state that you're totally available. You never give them a time frame. Well, you can contact me from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's it. No, it's not. You're not controlling that conversation anymore. You tell them that you're fully available. You want to answer any further question that they might have. You attach your resume that depicts your skills, and you want to make sure that, again, in your cover letter, you put down your phone number and email address at which they can actually contact you. And so those are my email address, and again, the office email address. If you want to schedule, and just like Donna said, we serve anyone who is located on the East Baltimore campus, so we screen your resume, your CV. If you're applying for a specific position, please come with your resume and your cover letter and the announcement, and we really help you tailor it to the specific job. Okay, and that's it. So if you have questions, I'm still